All right, let's get into some quick and dirty underwriting tips, okay? Now, if you've ever received an offering memorandum from a broker, right, which is essentially the pitch deck of the deal, it can be super lengthy. We're talking like 47 plus pages, right? And in the beginning, I read through every page, right? So the problem with that, by the time I got to the financials, which I promise you are always in the back, I was already fully in love with the deal. And as you can imagine, that's dangerous. It's also highly ineffective, okay? So remember, as we go through this, the initial analysis process, it's not about doing due diligence, okay? It's about doing the initial analyzation of the property. All we're trying to do at this point is to get an understanding of what the fair market value of the property is. So in this section, I'm going to show you how to do that in 10 minutes or less, right? Hence the term, quick and dirty. And listen, I know that to some of you, 10 minutes might seem like a long time when it comes to getting dirty, but let's be honest with each other, it's just not, okay? Anywho, let's dive in, okay? Here is the 10-minute step-by-step process, okay? Step one, fast forward. Fast forward to the financials. This should take you no more than 30 seconds. Remember, you need to skip past the sales pitch, right? It's 47 pages. Skip past all that and get to the financials. It does not matter if the property is just freaking beautiful. If the numbers don't make any sense, it doesn't matter. Okay, now step two is to dial in the income. This should take us around 4 minutes. So if the financials are provided, then great, right? We're going to take the gross scheduled income, same thing as the total annual rents, and we're going to subtract out any adjustments. Now, typical adjustments would be, vacancies or concessions, bad debt. I'll walk you through all these at the class. And this number should be close to about 10% of that gross scheduled income number. Now, if the number's higher, use the higher number. Otherwise, we just use the 10%. All right, now if the financials are not provided, which will happen sometimes, okay, you take the average rent per unit and multiply it by the number of units. So for example, all right, let's say that we're looking at a 150 unit building and the average rent on that building is $1,000. Okay, so 1,000 times 150 units would be 150,000 in monthly rental income, but we always are looking for the annualized number, the yearly number. Okay, so we would take 150,000, we would multiply that by 12, and that would give us 1.8 million in gross annual rents. Now remember, right, to be conservative and realistic, we have to account for vacancy, which just like above, right, is going to be right around 10%. So we take 10%, and 10% of 1.8 million is 180,000. So 180,000, so 1.8 million subtract 180,000 would equal an adjusted gross income of 1,620,000. Okay, now step three, we're going to dial in the expenses. This should take 2 minutes. Okay, this is the easy part. We look at the reported gross expenses, and if those expenses are greater than 50% of the adjusted income number, we use the higher number, right? Otherwise, we use 50%. So, for example, right, if the reported expenses are 890,000, we would take 890,000 and we would divide it by the adjusted gross income number from step two, 1,620,000, which would give us 0.593, which is 54.93%. Now remember, this is higher than our rule of thumb number of 50%, so we would take the higher number to be conservative. If the reported number is less than 50%, it's usually because something's missing, right? So for reference, you have an underwriting template that's located in the resource center of the Quick Start training. This will have a list of, the common expense items, line items, right, on a property. I'll also cover that in the class. But if the number is lower than 50% of the adjusted gross income, maybe we take a look, right? Maybe we take a look and see if we can identify what might be missing there. Maybe they don't list a property management company because they self-manage. Okay, we never self-manage. We always use a property management company, so we have to add that number in, right? So I don't want you to spend a ton of time here, okay? But maybe take a second and see if you see anything missing, because it's good to be able to address that with the broker and help them understand that the expenses that they have listed are unreasonably too low, right? So in this example, our adjusted expenses would be 890,000. Okay. Now, step 4, we're going to calculate the net operating income, 30 seconds, right? To determine the net operating income, we're going to take our adjusted gross income from step 2. Remember, 1,620,000. We're going to subtract out the adjusted expense number that we just calculated in step 3, which is 890,000, which means 1.62 subtract 890,000 equals a net operating income of 730,000. Step 5, okay, we're almost there. We're going to use the advertised cap rate, the market cap rate, to determine the fair market value of the property. It's going to take us about 3 minutes. Now, you can find the cap rate for a specific area by asking commercial brokers, property managers. You can look it up online. CBRE actually has a report that they put out. They publish an annual cap rate report each year for specific markets. Great resource for you, okay? But for this example, let's assume that the average market cap rate is 7%. So to determine what the fair market value of the property would be, we would take the NOI, which is 730,000, remember that we just calculated. We would divide it by the cap rate, so 0.077%. 730,000 divided by 0.07 gives us a fair market value of $10,428,571. Boom, you just did it. You just did quick and dirty underwriting of a property and now have a general idea of what your numbers are, if your numbers are in the ballpark of asking price. And listen, if you have no idea what asking price is, which also happens sometimes, now you have an idea at least of what it probably should be. And I want to help you understand, how this sets you apart. Literally in less than 10 minutes, you've been able to analyze the deal. You've been able to come up with a reasonable offer price based on the information that the broker gave you, the broker provided to you, which I want to help you understand what that does. This allows you to now go to the broker quickly with feedback. And I'll say this, that speed of execution alone will begin to show the broker that you're serious, and that will build huge amounts of credibility with them, which is great. And number 3, you're now in the negotiation process. Like, it may be, informal, but it has officially started, whether you realize it or not, okay? And number 4, listen, maybe they tell you that the numbers, won't work for, this specific seller. No sweat. It's not like you spent hours or days working through it. You spent 10 minutes, maybe less, right? And listen, once again, I understand that maybe that, may be, more time than it takes you, not me, you, to get quick and dirty in the bedroom. But if it's less than 99% of investors take to do their initial analyzation of a property, which means you're now free to go look at more deals. Or let's be optimistic here. If the broker, accepts your offer, well, great, right? Now you can go celebrate by getting dirty real quick, right? It's a win-win. Anywho, I hope that helps. If it doesn't, go ahead and rewind and rewatch, because I know that was gold. Even the one, I thought the quick and dirty stuff was funny. Let me know. Leave a comment and let me know.